Let's talk about the news, which is that the vice president is going to sit down on Fox News. This was just announced by Fox News. It's going to happen on Wednesday. She's going to sit down with Bret Baier. According to Fox, it's her first formal sit-down interview on that network ever.
Right. She did not do it when she was running for president in 2019, briefly on the Democratic side, or as the sitting vice president. Is significant. It's going to be in Pennsylvania. It shows one thing, that she is willing to take more risks because they believe that this is a deadlocked race on the margin, and she needs to do something to try and shake this up. It's also a sign of confidence in her, and that she has performed pretty well, most people agree, on 60 Minutes, on all of this batting practice that's been going on through podcasts and other things. But look, now is the time. People are going to be voting very soon. Some are, actually, millions are. And this is a sign that she is, again, we see so many lessons from 2016. I think this is yet one more example that they're putting everything out there. At the end of this, there's not going to be, oh, she didn't go to Michigan, she didn't go to Wisconsin, she didn't do this or that. They're doing everything. I think it's significant.
Yeah, how did this start, Democrats not going on Fox? It's really 2007, 2008 primary where Democrats agreed not to participate in a Fox News debate, and then they kept boycotting it for years and years. The media environment has changed. He's reacted to that in lots of ways. We were talking about the last segment and Trump's outreach to podcasts. This is another one that there are narratives about Harris that happen every day, and some are just negative stuff. Some are not getting the word out about what the administration's record is for black men. That's part of their plan. Some of it's negative stuff that flies out there that she doesn't respond to on the media that conservatives are listening to. Just complete fake stuff that will travel very widely. So this seems like a response to that too, and it's not what Democrats did for almost a generation because they thought they could avoid Fox.
The Harris campaign is amping up its efforts to win over moderate Republicans in the vital swing state of Arizona. Watch this new ad featuring the GOP mayor of Mesa, Arizona.
I'm a lifelong Republican, but I've always put country over party. And I know Donald Trump's second term would be all about himself. That's why, like so many other Republicans, I cannot support Donald Trump. Kamala Harris and I may not agree on everything, but I do know that she will always put country first.
A New York Times poll out Saturday showed Trump building on his lead in the Grand Canyon state. A month ago, he was up by 5 points in that poll. Now it's 6, so very close. All 4 of my excellent reporters here, you've all been to Arizona, like in the past week. Jasmine, I want to start with you, and I want to read a quote from your story. And this is a Democratic strategist, Stacey Pearson, who told you the enthusiasm is as high as it could possibly be for Harris, but there is a numbers problem in Arizona. There is just a mathematical complication in Arizona that other states don't have. None of the other swing states have lost Dems the way Arizona has, which is really interesting. We're talking about voter registration.
Yeah, it's honestly going to come down to the numbers, and that is why we see the Harris campaign reaching out to Republicans and reaching out to independents, not because it's a virtuous thing, but because in Arizona it is a necessity, particularly because we know 100,000 registered Democrats have left the state since 2020, which puts Democrats at a deficit, not just with Republicans by over 200,000 registered voters, but for the first time since 2020, also with independents, meaning that they have to get their numbers from somewhere. Now, to be very clear, 140,000 Republicans voted for Nikki Haley after it was very clear that she was not going to win the Republican primary, right? That kind of gives the Harris campaign and folks who are aligned with Democrats hope, because it provides a new pool of potential Republican voters who are kind of created in the image of John McCain. But they're very clear that not all those 140,000 Republicans are going to vote for a Democrat. And that is kind of the uphill climb that they have in the state.
Which is why we saw, I think it was the last time Harris went to Arizona, telling the story of being in the Senate when John McCain came in and did the thumbs down on repealing Obamacare. You spoke with Candy Perdue, an Arizona Trump voter. Let's watch.
I think the economy, but I think immigration's going to weigh that out.
So Trump versus Harris, what do you, are you nervous at all about the election? Or do you think?
No, I think my man's going to win. I think Vance is going to smooth him right over the edge. You know, everybody gets, well, I don't really like the man. Well, you know what? So what?
What a character.
Candy was a character, and Candy is also voting for abortion rights. That's why Arizona is such a scrambled picture. Proposition 139 also on the ballot there. A central question I walked away from my Arizona time is abortion rights going to pull Harris over the finish line? There is no doubt. There's wide support for Proposition 139. It's called. It's to enshrine abortion rights in the state's constitution. There were some 800,000 signatures from all over the state collected. 500,000 were accepted. In that number, though, there are some Trump supporters, and we found one, Candy Perdue. She believes a woman should have the right to choose. She supports that and voting for Donald Trump. So the question, abortion is literally on the ballot. Immigration, there's a measure there as well. But the Harris campaign knows that not all the supporters for the abortion measure support them, and she's an example of that.
And that's something you looked at in Arizona.
Yes, and for every Candy voter, there may also be a voter like Crystal Price, which was a woman that I spoke to. She was a Trump voter in 2020. She's voting for more abortion access, and she's going to vote for Kamala Harris. So this is one of those voters where abortion was so important to her. She had an abortion pre-Dobbs years ago, and she's really concerned that women are now going to be facing a landscape where they wouldn't even be able to have an abortion like her, which was medically necessary because she thinks that she would have died if she had not had that abortion. And, you know, it's not necessarily something that totally aligns fully with her faith. She doesn't agree with abortion in a lot of circumstances, but it's something that is clearly compelling her to support Harris. And there are a number of voters potentially like that in Arizona that Harris is trying to get to her side.
And you were in Arizona looking at the Senate race, which is very competitive.
Right, and you could see there that candidates who don't have Donald Trump's branding, and specifically the rose-colored glasses people have put on about the Trump years, the idea that things were better, border was closed, economy was better, et cetera. Carrie Lake and a couple of the congressional candidates don't have that same flexibility. Carrie Lake opened up her debate with Ruben Gallego, the Democrat, saying it's country over party. That's pretty new for her, that she was betting more on the Trump base carrying her, and it's clear Trump has some appeal, and this has been true when Biden was leading the ticket, especially when he was leading the ticket, that doesn't stretch down to other Republicans. So there are some Republicans running behind Trump with that same messaging, and a lot of them, they were on the record for very strict abortion policies just 2 years ago, and they were struggling to get update, just saying, vote your own way on the abortion issue, don't consider it in my race.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Thank you for sharing all of your reporting
Those
with
11
us.
electoral votes are key.
Very key.